and
Tuck for sis.
Merry Christmas and come on in.
Hello and welcome to a Norwegian Christmas right here in Minnesota. I'm Eric Olsson. We're in for a real treat tonight. We have been invited into the wonderful home of Dennis and Carole Johnson, who live just outside of Morris, Minnesota. Thank you very much for letting us come into your home.
Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much. We're in for a big treat here. We are going to be guests at a sumptuous Norwegian feast. We'll have a feast and a little frivolity. And we should let you know that the Johnsons have been doing this for guests in Morris for many, many years, bringing folks in, treating them to some of the finest food in Norway. How did you get started in doing this?
Well, our son went to a college in Iowa that has a strong Norwegian background, and we visited a museum there and tasted some of the foods they did and decided we'd like to have our nieces and nephews learn how to make some of those things. So then we just kind of slid in from that point on.
And for careful viewers of our show, even in the first few minutes, you might notice that there's a little non-Norwegian decoration up here. This is a flag of another country. What's that doing there, Carole?
Well, I'm not Norwegian. I'm a full-blooded Dane. So, of course, the flag of Denmark.
Oh yes, well our little joke is that she's a pure Dane insofar as that term means anything.
And also we've been doing Danish Christmas Eves for ever since we've been married, because I grew up with that. And so Dennis wanted to balance that out with true Norwegian food.
That's on Christmas Day we have the Norwegian food.
And speaking of the food and the menu, what have we got in store for our viewers and for our guests who you'll be welcoming in here in a little bit? What are we going to be having?
Well, we are going to have several courses. We're going to do a welcoming with rommegrote, which is a cream pudding. Then we are going to have 3 kinds of herring in sauces. Then our old friend lutefisk with lefse and some potatoes. And then we will...
Yellow peas.
Yellow peas, that's right.
Don't forget
Pea
the yellow
stew.
peas.
Even a Swedish influence there, yes. And then we have pinnekjøtt, which is lamb ribs, which come from the mountainous areas of Norway. And we are also going to have ribba, which is a form of pork ribs, primarily from eastern Norway. The lutefisk, by the way, is coastal, so we're representing different kinds of food from Norway. And then and there's some vegetables that go with that. We have red cabbage, we have rutabaga with the pinnekjøtt, but then we'll cap it off after we dance around the Christmas tree with this rice cream dessert. And actually rice cream is going to be one of the first things we start this morning.
And 7 kinds of cookies.
Yes, and you can tell we're a mixed marriage there too, because good Scandinavians need to have 7 kinds of cookies, but we've got 16 because there's a little national difference here.
Equal cookie representation.
Yes,
okay.
That's right.
Well, this is just a wonderful menu. I can't wait to get started. Let's go to it.
Very
All
good.
right. We're going to start with making the rice cream, which will be our dessert. And it takes about 90 minutes to cook. And we'll start with 3/4 of a cup of raw rice and a quart of whole milk. You need to use whole milk in this, and about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. There we go. We'll add that to it. Give it a swift swirl, and then it goes on a double boiler, and it's important that it's cooked on a double boiler with the cover on. And we'll look at it in an hour and a half.
The rice cream that we just started comes from Authentic Norwegian Cooking by Astrid Carlson Scott. Next we're going to begin our lefse, and our reference for that is the last word on lefse. We've boiled russet potatoes to start with, and russet potatoes are used because they are more absorbent of the liquids that we add later. There are adherents also of red potatoes, but I happen to be in the russet potato crowd. Carole has got fingers of iron, which she inherited from her father, so I'm going to ask her to do the peeling.
I get the job of peeling. As you can see, some of them have started to break apart.
And while the potatoes are still hot, we double rice them. We rice them 2 times. Little spill. We don't worry about that in home cooking, do we? There are various kinds of ricers that are available on the market. I prefer this one right here because it is a very tough ricer.
And so we continue on with the potatoes.
And I'm going to melt 1 stick of butter, which will become part of the ingredient for this lefse. So that's easy to do in the microwave.
This is not a job you would have your children do. And now we're on our last potato. As you can see, it's not that hot anymore.
Easy for her to say.
Still has enough steam left in it that Dennis will have an easy time ricing it.
Would you check to see if the butter is melted, dear?
Now, if we lived in the time of our grandmothers, we would have just set this up on the cook stove, and the cook stove would have had a warm spot that would have just melted it. Actually, if you have a ricer, that's a great way to make mashed potatoes because they get nice and smooth and they're all even. Ooh, they can be good that way.
I kind of specialize in the recipes, but I'm very dependent on Carole for all the practical matters that she learned not only at the foot of her mother, but she was a home economics teacher for many years too. And as such, she knows a lot of stuff.
There we go.
So if you'll measure 5 cups back into the other pan, that would be great.
Would you like it packed?
Moderately packed, about like that, yes. That's
Moderately packed. 4.
And we've got a little excess potato, but we'll save that for the dinner tonight. We can use them.
Here,
again.
let's.
There we go. We'll add the 1 stick of butter, melted, and then we want to add 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar.
Level or?
Level.
Here we go.
I want a teaspoon of salt. We do not put the flour in at this point because the dough will get very sticky as we do. So we only add the flour when the time comes that we do actually roll the lefse out. And that'll be 2 or 3 hours from now. We're going to have a lot of cookies tonight, but we're only going to demonstrate making one of them, and it's goro, which is a very traditional Norwegian type of cookie that's cooked in a press. It uses enormous amounts of butter and other dairy products and cardamom, so it really tastes good when it's done. It's our daughter's favorite cookie, she tells us. So we're going to do that, and we're going to work together. Carole is going to be cutting 11 ounces of butter into 3 1/3 cups of flour, and then adding the cardamom. While she's doing that, I'll be putting together the liquid ingredients that will be coming together in order to make the final mix. Then it will need to sit at least 2 hours before we actually make the goro themselves. How's it going, dear?
Well, the butter is breaking up into small pieces and incorporating into the flour. And we have a lot, as Dennis said in here, 11 ounces of butter, which is close to 3/4 of a pound. And now we'll incorporate this last piece.
I'm going to whip up some cream. So the first thing I want to do is take 1/3 of a cup of the cream. I will whip that, which is going to take a little while. So here we have our whipped cream. The next thing we want to do is whip together 1 egg from the George Nelson farm, our neighbors here at Morris, and 2/3 of a cup of sugar. How's it going, dear?
Well, you can probably see when you look at the flour mixture now that it's in small pieces, and the pieces of butter are completely surrounded by the flour. So it will mix together well, and it'll be nice and tender. Dennis, are we going to eat your sweater?
You can if you like.
Well, there's a lot of cream and egg on there.
Well, that's just occupational hazard. Here you see the cardamom that Carole is going to be inserting in the dry ingredients. We think it's very important to use only fresh spices each year, to throw out your old cardamom, get fresh cardamom seeds at your local co-op and grind them up good, and you get more flavorful cardamom that way.
How much of this goes in?
All of it.
All right.
All of it, yes.
There we go.
That's a strong teaspoon.
I would say a very strong teaspoon. And we'll incorporate that in.
Here it comes, dear. Okay, so now while Carole is working that up, I'm going to actually start another dish. I am going to start preparation of pinashoot. We start with lamb ribs. Rub a generous amount of salt into the meat, and we will put it in a larger pan and set it so that it creates a brine. After about a week, we take them out of the brine solution, and I make a little hole through here, add a string, and I let them hang. And you let them hang until they're very dry, at least 2 or 3 months of time. So this is the first step. Later, we'll show the steps of actually preparing the pinashoot that we're going to be serving tonight.
I think we're about ready now, Dennis, isn't it?
Get it well incorporated, and then we'll put it out in the cold so it can firm up for a while.
We want to get up the remains of the cardamom and the flour mixture.
We have one more product that in this early preparation that we salt liberally, and that's the lutefisk. Now, lutefisk starts out as dried cod from the Lofoten Islands in Norway. And those codfish are put on racks to dry. And they become very dry. That's the method of preservation. And they become literally as hard as a rock. So then they come to this country for preparation at the lutefisk company. Now, I've found that we will get a firmer lutefisk if 4 or 5 hours before we're going to prepare it, if we salt it liberally. It draws the water out of the lutefisk so that it stays firmer when it's cooked. Lutefisk has a somewhat bad reputation in some quarters because some of it comes out gelatinous. That's because there's too much water incorporated. So we'll just set this aside now for about 5 hours until we're ready to cook it up for dinner. Then we'll pour the water away and we'll show you what we do at that time. Okay, right now I'm going to put the lutefisk out to cool for a while so it doesn't go bad on us and draws the moisture out. We'll put it in a nice cool place. And it should be fine there unless, of course, the coyotes come after it.
Okay, I'm going to start preparing the red cabbage. And the reason we need to start it a little bit early, it needs to slowly cook down and then kind of caramelize. So that, you know, we'll put a little sugar on it, a little vinegar, and then at the end, we'll put some currant jelly in it, and it just works.
While Carole is preparing the red cabbage, I'm going to prep the ribba. Now, the ribba is kind of like pork ribs and kind of like the material that goes in bacon. It comes from the side of the pig, but ribba needs to have the skin left on. It becomes crispy and crackly and gives a nice snap when you eat it. I already salted it 2 days ago and rubbed lots of salt into the skin. Add plenty of pepper, and right before I pop it in the oven, I'm going to take some whole cloves and I will insert them. So that's the ribba. Now the rutabaga, sometimes called the Swede, is cooked with the pinashoot. So when I do the pinashoot, I'm going to make sure that the pinashoot juices drip down over the rutabaga while it's cooking. How's the cabbage coming, dear?
It's coming, and you can see this beautiful color. One thing about Norwegian cooking, it isn't real high in color. So this goes well with it.
There you go again.
Just a sideline.
Yes.
And I'm going to sprinkle sugar on it and put a little vinegar on it when I put it on the range top.
How much do you use?
You know, I use probably a slight 1/4 of a cup, not much. And then I'll taste it as we go along.
Would you be so kind as to chop up the rutabaga into about 1-inch cubes for me? And we will start that, softening that up on the oven too at this time.
I certainly will.
And these flavors are very complementary, the red cabbage and the pork. Another vegetable dish that we have that is traditional to eat with the lutefisk is peas. These have been soaking overnight. If you don't soak them overnight, they're very hard and they keep kind of a raw taste. We're going to put them on to cook very slowly on the cooktop now. When they are just about done, we will add a little butter and nutmeg, and it will be ready to go with the lutefisk. So I think we've seen here all of the vegetables that we're going to be using in this meal, except the potatoes, and we'll get a little look at that later.
Okay, I'm going to put the red cabbage on to cook right now on a low temperature. I've added the little bit of vinegar and I've added the sugar, and so now it's going to start to just kind of cook down and start that mellowing process. And we'll talk to it in a couple hours.
And we'll do the same thing with the peas. We'll put them on to cook slowly, and the rutabaga as well. So we've got lots of our dinner started now.
Let's take a look at our rice. Oh, it's coming.
What we're going to have for a second course this evening is herring. Herring is a dish that my good friend here loves dearly.
Yes, I do.
But a lot of other people do too. We're going to do a mustard sauce and a curry sauce. You want to show how we do that, dear?
Yes, the curry one we'll do first. It's very simple. It's sour cream with some curry incorporated into it. And you just mix it in. It gets that nice golden color. You want to have enough so that it coats all the fish that you're using at your meal. Actually, I think this will be what we want today. It has a bit of color. We'll just taste it and see. It needs more.
Needs quite a bit more.
It needs more.
Yes.
Do you want to try this again? That'll be better.
Yep, that's much better.
That'll be better. We'll just put in a little shot of this and that. There we go. And this will need to sit for a bit. So if you're making it for your dinner in the evening, you might want to do it earlier in the afternoon. It makes my mouth water. Now we're going to make a mustard sauce. We'll add a little bit of the dill, and we'll add just a small amount of sugar. And because it is a mustard sauce, we're going to use just a traditional Dijon mustard. You can use this smooth kind of Dijon. And we'll have a little salt and pepper. And we'll have just a little bit of white wine in there. You can certainly use white wine vinegar. If you are going to cook with wine, use as good a quality of wine as you would drink, because it's going into your food. And then we'll just mix this up. Okay, I've incorporated the ingredients in the sauce, and I will add that to our herring right here. So we'll get this incorporated like we did the other.
So herring is adaptable to many sauces, but it's a great way to start a meal.
And that's our herring story. All right, it's time for the second part of our rice cream. We're just going to incorporate a half a cup of sugar and a little bit of almond extract, which of course is a favorite of all Scandinavians at all times of the year.
Is that imitation?
Oh no,
It's real.
it's real almond extract.
How much are you adding?
We're adding the right amount. which
That's
is
good.
it.
That's good. She never fails to add the right amount.
I suppose it would be close to a teaspoon. We'll just let this sit. It has to cool, and then it kind of comes together.
And our final activity will be to whip up some cream and use some slivered almond and mix that in with it. So we'll have a big white dessert to have for dinner.
There we go. I think it's about ready.
Sure looks that way. It's important for the griddle to be hot enough.
Oh, it is.
Now there are oodles of different lefse recipes, and I'm sure there are lots of people who would say I'm doing it entirely the wrong way. but it is the way I do it, and it does consistently produce lefse. Now the final lefse recipe is going to use 2 cups of flour with those potatoes. I only put in 1 cup to knead in. The way you can tell when it's kneaded enough is you look at the edges of the ball, and if they no longer crack, so that you have a smooth outer surface, then you know that you've kneaded enough.
And Dennis will roll it out and get it as round as possible, and then he'll put it here on this griddle, and I'll use this griddle, this lefse stick, and as you can see it's very thin here because you need to go under the lefse and turn it over. How are the potatoes coming, Dennis?
Well, I think it's just about ready. One very important task is to prepare your board so that it's not going to be sticky. So you work in an abundance of flour. I use 2 rolling pins. This has got a plain surface, and then I finish it with this rolling pin, which will give me a thinner lefse when it's done. I have found that about the right amount is roughly a third of a cup, and it helps in doing the rounding if you start out with something like the right shape.
As you can see, Dennis's aren't very round.
Well, this is the first one. The first one is always a jagged mess. I don't know why that is.
And it comes over here, and we'll let this cook. And I'm just going to look at underneath, and it's starting to turn a light color brown, so I'm just going to turn it.
And there's absolutely no point in bursting the bubbles. Some people do that, but
No.
there's really no reason to do that. Lefse, the day you make it, is absolutely the best. It never gets better than it is that first day.
You see it has those little brown spots. Now I'm just going to put it here to cool it. I like mine with butter and a little sugar. I like white sugar. Some people like brown sugar, and some people think it's a sin to put anything on it. Oh, there's a nice one, Dennis. Good job.
How do you like the thickness of that one?
That one's nice.
The 5 cups of potatoes will usually give 15 lefse of the size that we are making. So this will go on for about an hour to finish this batch, but it'll be nice fresh lefse for us to serve our guests tonight. Now we're going to make just one of the cookies that we eat tonight. Now, a proper Scandinavian host always has 7 cookies at Christmas. Since we're a mixed marriage, a Norwegian and a Dane, we have to have 15 or 16 kinds of cookies because, of course, we cannot agree on which 7 are the correct ones. But we're going to just show one right now. It's goro. It is cooked on a griddle called a goro iron. You'll see it in use, which is an awful lot like a kroomkake iron.
What are some of those other kinds, Dennis, that we're supposed to have that hopefully we have already made?
Well, usually at the top of the list is the donut, which you absolutely refuse to cooperate in making.
That's true.
Yes.
Those are true statements. So are you making me a square here, Dennis?
That is the idea. So I will just cut around this little template.
And I'll just put this on this form, and then I will press together the 2 forms. And I take it off a little bit because I don't want to start too many fires. It's flipped over just like a kroomkake. Here we go. Here is the cookie right here, and I'm going to cut it down the middle while it's hot. So you want to make them into 2 parts right away. And then you start again. And you just continue on all afternoon until you have 100 of them, so when people come, they can just narrow them down and forget that you spent all that time doing it.
So it's important to stick with it, but they are delicious and people will love them.
And they're also a part of tradition. And tradition is roots, and we all like to have that.
So that's the cookie story. Well, it's time to get some birch branches that are the spirit of Norwegian pinnekjøtt. We just happen to have a birch tree in our front yard, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to cut some birch branches. I'm going to peel them, and they will go at the bottom of the pot. I think I have enough here. I will break it up and peel it so that I have some twigs and some wood to put at the bottom. The pinneshut and the rutabaga will go over that, and they will be cooked by steaming. The spirit of the birch will get in the pinneshut.
I'm just going to finish setting the table. We have 3 forks on the table, one for herring. The next one will be for the lutefisk. And then the third one, the one closest to the plate, is for the pinneshut and ribba. And when I was doing the napkins, Dennis said, oh, they look like the top part of the julebuk. So we're going to have this woodsy look because Norway is a country of mountains and trees and an earthy country. And of course, we have to have a little bit of akavit to bring in the new year and have our Christmas cheer. We have 2 children, so they are going to have little glasses, probably not with akavit in them. The last thing that I'm putting on is going to be the dessert fork and spoon, and I have a whole collection of them, and I love to use them this time of the year. Well, actually all year. And our table will be ready. We'll just be waiting for our guests.
Well, here we are. We're starting to prepare the main course meat now. We're going to have 2 kinds of meat that we're going to show. Now, the one that's first is the real spirit of Norway, and that's the ribs from the sheep. And Carole remembers when I made it the first time and served it.
He had it hanging in our garage until at one point I said we either have to throw it out or invite people over. So we invited people over.
They have to be soaked in water for a couple of days in order to get all the salt and the saltpeter out of them. We've set up a pot here with a couple of inches of water in the bottom with birch sticks, which is very important because that brings out the spirit to the pinneshut. So they're set in there. Then we want to get the spirit of the pinneshut also into the rutabaga. It's parboiled, so it's somewhat tender, but we're going to put it down in the pot, set a frame over where we can put our pinneshut over the rutabaga. The process of cooking is actually steaming. We put the cover on, and then in about 3 hours, we should have some really tasty, luscious pinneshut to eat. And our other main meat, it's called ribba. You need a very, very sharp knife to cut through the skin in order to get it shaped. So we'll put it here because we want the fat to run off when it's cooking. Would you get me some cloves, please?
I will.
Okay. You can start on that end, actually.
Do you want these just put in like you would a ham?
Yes. So I'm going to cover it up and put it in the oven at 450 degrees, which is really quite high.
And this, of course, is served with that wonderful red cabbage.
It's time to get it in. It takes a long time to cook this, about 3 hours.
Wonderful. You know, not everybody gets a musical trio in their own living room. We're pretty lucky today, but we're having a Norwegian party. What's a party without music? And we have a wonderful trio of fine musicians here with us. Paul Wilson from Brainerd joins us. Who will you bring along with you today? Who's with you?
Well, today we have 3/4 of the Ole Olsson's Oldtime Orkestra. The other quarter is lost somewhere. I'm not sure where he went. But next to me is Shar Bostrom, and she's from St. Paul. And my wife, Mary Abendroth, here on the pump organ.
Traditional music, it's still very popular. What makes it so popular? Why do people like it?
Well, you know, it's such a part of the heritage of the upper Midwest here.
Would you please do us the honor of playing a song?
Sure, we're going to play a Norwegian tune that we learned, and it's a tune inviting everyone to the party.
All right.
Well, I think it's time now for us to get our dessert stuff together and make some selections from this set of cookies and put together the rice cream because it's starting to get a little dim outside and our guests will be arriving pretty soon.
Syrup snippers?
Okay, that is one of the 7 cookies. That is one that has flavored with anise, ginger, and pepper. And that is definitely a favorite.
All right, and then we don't want to change colors, so...
No, we don't want to change colors at all. There is a basic color for Norwegian cookies that
How
we want
about
to
these
adhere to.
rosettes?
Those are rosettes, yes, they're very light and they are cooked in deep fat.
We'll put on these little ginger hearts.
They're very good.
We'll put some of those on, little change in color.
Heart shapes are very traditional.
And then how about some of these?
I like the color. I think it's the right kind of color. It's nice and tan. And some people like their kroomkake to be pristine and white. But I like, you see little black specks there, and I like to have the spiciness come through as you take a little bite of that cardamom. So we have that. So, dear, are you going to get any more on this plate?
Maybe, let's see.
You've only got 5 kinds.
Oh, how
You're gonna
about
have
these
to...
Berlinerkrans?
Okay, good. That is definitely one of the 7 cookies.
Those little knots.
Yeah, they're done like a pretzel or like a little wreath. Okay.
Well, that's what it means, doesn't it?
Isn't crowns a crown?
Crowns is a crown.
Yes.
So
Okay,
how many do we have
I'll
on
move
there?
This away. We have 6 kinds here.
All right, well, we've got more kinds to choose from.
Right.
Let's put on these.
Okay, the Fadigman, good. Fadigman means poor man cookies. And Fadigman has a lot of egg. Again, they have cardamom. And they are a deep fat fried cookie as well. They can be kind of tricky to make because you cut out the diamond shape, then you make a slit and you pull one end through the slit.
And then let's put on some sandbakels here.
Okay.
Now, people can take these and eat them just as they are, or they can take some of the rice cream
And fill them.
that we're making and fill them.
That's ideal. But we would not want to fill them now because they'd get soggy and fall apart before it was time to eat them.
Right.
This is one of the tastiest little cookies. They're kind of companions. Those are called Doler or Dalesman. And here we have a radical change in flavor in that we've made a change from almond to hazelnut. Big change.
But as you can see, the color tone is staying the same.
I don't know why we'd want any other color besides
There we
tan
go.
in our cookies. A lot of Scandinavians have a rice pudding or a rice grout actually at the beginning of the meal, which is just plain rice and milk, and then have an almond in it. But we have rommegrote that we're going to have at the beginning, so we're going to have our almond prize in our rice cream. Now, we made the rice cream earlier. Now all we need to do is incorporate the rice and the cream, and I'll get the serving bowl.
As you can see, the rice has firmed up. The sugar and that almond that we put in has been incorporated into there. And Dennis, why don't you add that whipping cream?
Okay.
I'm just going to take some of the brown off the whole almond because we have to have one whole almond in the mixture. And if I leave all the brown on, whoever gets it will know right away.
One way or another, we're going to make sure one of the little girls gets that almond so she gets the prize. Adults have had prizes all their lives.
As a kid, I remember at my grandma's house when there were all of us there, you know, there'd probably be 20, 30 people, and only one almond. I always wished it was in my bowl, and I would eat that, all that rice, and I think one time in all the years did I get that.
Well, you had a lot of cousins. That one time was probably your turn.
It was my turn.
That's enough, yeah. How much of the slivered almond should I put in? About like so? Does that look good?
That looks good.
Okay.
And then we'll put this in.
Yeah, okay, ooh, okay.
Fairly well.
Kind of like finding an almond in a haystack, right?
Our red sauce is made with raspberries and currants, and we have some wild plum in it this year because we had some wild plums. And it's red, and it'll go on this, and that meets the tradition standard.
Actually, I like just the sour cherry by itself in the sauce. That's a nice counterpoint to the sweetness of this that will make your teeth hurt. One of these little girls or someone else is going to find that almond. And when they find that almond, the idea is you kind of pretend that you don't have it for quite a while, and then at the end someone has to give in. So what they get for the prize is this marzipan pig.
The beautiful marzipan pig.
And that's very traditional. It's very old and very traditional. So that's what we have for dessert tonight.
It'll be warm inside.
This is ready. Good Yule!
Come on in. Radelige Yule. Oldtime Gorda.
Come in.
Yes, take your coat off.
Smells great.
Guess what, girls? You're going to make rommegrote tonight. Have you done that before? No? You're going to do it now.
I'll take your coats.
Come on in, folks. Now, we're running a little late. That's not unusual. It's not a surprise. So I need to get some help from you. So if I can have you two help me make the rommegrote, and if you two, Mike and Nancy, will peel the potatoes, we'll be able to stay almost on schedule. But we'll go with the rommegrote here first, right, girls? I'd like to have you stir this pot. Okay, now what rommegrote, do you know what rommegrote is?
Yeah.
Okay, you like it, don't you?
Yeah.
Everybody likes rommegrote. Okay, we're going to start with 2 sticks of butter. And I've already turned the heat on, and then keep stirring it. Put in the 2nd stick of butter. And as soon as that butter gets melted, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of flour so that the rommegrote will thicken up a little bit. That's 1 quart of whole milk, and then we will add a cup of half and half. And is that melting? Oh, that's pretty good. So I'm gonna sprinkle in the flour and keep stirring. And in the meantime, now I'm going to put this in to get hot. Do you see any sign of bubbling? Oh, that's good. Just a light bubble is what we want, so it won't burn. They're doing all they need to do, and we've got just the right amount of heat. Almost seconds after we put the hot milk in, it'll thicken up. It'll be real rommegrote. Okay, we have to keep stirring now because we want to get this mixed in really well. See how it's getting thicker?
Yep.
Okay, Sophia, do you want to add the sugar here? And it's all done. You guys really did a good job of making this rommegrote. It looks all ready to eat, doesn't it?
Looks
You looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if Carol will give you the first taste since you made it.
We have our rommegrote. We're ready for the first course of our meal tonight. Come and I'll dish you up some rommegrote. And this was made by you two gals, so we know it's good. Oops. I'm going to start with the cook. Do you want any cinnamon and sugar on there, Sophia? I'm not filling your glass because we have a lot to eat tonight. Boy, can you imagine what your cardiologist thinks of this? There you go, Michael.
Wow. You guys worked hard on this.
Nancy.
Thank you.
And Dennis,
Yes, dear.
would you come and get some rommegrote?
Yes, I will.
And we'll dish this up and I will join you. A little bit of cinnamon.
Thank you.
Is it good?
Thank you for this drink.
The girls-
Oh, it's wonderful.
The girls made it. Your girls made it.
Unusually good this evening.
That's very smooth. You did a good job. A very good job.
Now it's about time for me to put the lutefisk in the oven. And if you look at it, you can see that the salting pulled a lot of water out of it. So I'll just pour that away. I want to rinse it off. Take some of that salt away. Now I'll just put foil on the top and pop it into a 425 degree oven. I think I probably have cooked lutefisk for almost 2,000 people over the course of time, and people still are scornful.
I'm one of
You-
those people.
Yeah. You girls like lutefisk? Yes.
Yeah.
Pop it in the
We
oven,
like yours, Dennis. We like yours.
and we'll set the timer for 23 minutes.
Come on in. Let's have our Christmas meal. Let's see, Nancy, would you sit over there, please?
Here's what we're going to do tonight. You've got your rommegrote, so you've got that for a snack.
Gabrielle, will you sit over there? Sophia, would you sit here? And then Dennis will be at the end.
And next, you're going to have some herring.
Oh, can you believe it's Christmas time already?
After that, you'll have the lutefisk with peas and some potatoes. Nancy, would you lead us in the table prayer?
I Jesu namn går vi till bords.
You'll have pinneshoot, which is lamb ribs.
There's a go. And girls, this is herring, and I'm sure it's one of your very favorite foods.
And ribba and red cabbage and rutabagas.
The most yellow one is a curry.
And after that, we will have dessert and dance around the Christmas tree.
And I thought these napkins looked like Eula bucks.
Look at your dad's there. See the horn sticking up and the
Its
ears
ears.
of the ears of the goat sticking out.
Did you do these, Carol?
I did. I did. And we'll try some of this. Did you have herring in Norway?
No. Yeah, we did.
For breakfast. Every morning for breakfast.
Just love it. The curry is my favorite.
How's the fish coming, Dennis?
It's coming along just fine. But we need to finish our herring.
They're having trouble. They're concerned about having to try the herring.
No, they don't have
So
to.
We're doing our best.
Who would like some more flatbread? I can get you more flatbread.
I think probably
All of you?
The three, it might, but probably,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll get you more flatbread
But
then.
you need a chance
It
to
looks
eat
like
too.
you need a lot more flatbread in order to finish your herring. Aren't you wild about the herring, Sophia?
Dennis, what is your favorite kind of herring?
I think I like the curried herring the best. Did you even try it, Sophia?
Not yet.
She doesn't have to, Dennis. She doesn't have to.
You could just move it around your plate a little bit
She's saving room, Dennis, for your
for the lutefisk.
the lutefisk. Yeah, is that next?
The lutefisk is
Is
next.
next.
These are the yellow peas and the potatoes, a little juice. Okay, take those in.
Mmm.
Here you are, Nancy.
Thank you.
One for you.
Is this peas? You call it pea soup, Dennis?
I would call them stewed peas.
Stewed peas.
Yes. And with the lutefisk, we should have some aquavit.
And I will get the lefse.
Okay, please do. This is made in Luton, Norway, which is just 3 miles from the place where my grandmother grew up.
There we have the lefse.
That.
Gabrielle, do you like butter and sugar on yours, or do you like it plain?
I'll have some sugar.
Sugar?
And this is like the herring.
Yeah.
You can just...
Except this has been cooked at 425 degrees.
True. But some things are not enhanced by heat.
Yeah, try the potatoes. And
How do you think the lutefisk is compared to the herring?
Maybe better.
Toast to the cod that came from the Norway and all of our relatives that came here a long time ago so that we can be here.
Skål.
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 I don't even, the lutefisk is very good, Dennis.
Well, good.
It's always good, but it's exceptionally good tonight.
So Dennis, when we were in Norway last summer, the lutefisk wasn't served at all. What was the reasoning?
Well, I think lutefisk is a seasonal food in Norway. When we've been in Norway in the winter, which we have been several times in the month of December, lutefisk has been on many of the restaurant menus.
Lutefisk more of an immigrant tie back to the old country.
Well, the reason it would have been lutefisk to start with was it was a way of preserving the codfish by drying.
But I remember growing up how at the grocery store it would come, it looked like a board. It hadn't gone through the process that was already done.
I remember it as soaking in a barrel in the store, so that was one step further.
This is the pinnashoot for tonight, the special way of fixing lamb ribs.
This is the ribba. Here we come. Here, on this plate, we have the pinnashoot, that's dried lamb's ribs that have been steamed in birch bark steam. And this is rutabaga, which has pinnashoot juice that has been dripping on it all the time that it has been cooking. So this is the lamb combination.
Wow.
And here we have the pork ribba and the red cabbage. And it has the skin on it, which is crisp and really very good. And then the red cabbage has been cooking all day with a little bit of sugar in it. And then at the end it had red currant jelly put in it. So we're going to put it over here.
And we're going to
And-
ask you to bring your plate and serve yourself.
Okay.
Okay, Sophia, away you go. Can you find something there, Gabrielle, that
I don't think
fits your fancy?
Rutabaga is still
Rutabaga.
quite a common a root vegetable eaten in Norway,
Yes.
I believe. And
Yes.
go the cabbage.
Yeah.
I can. One custom that I learned in Norway is that you always wait until everyone is seated and has their food before you start.
I'm just preparing.
Yes, which we didn't do for Dennis earlier because he was busy preparing.
He was running around.
Yes.
Here's to the sheep who give up their ribs, and to the pork, and may they well be appreciated at this feast. Skål.
Skål.
It's delicious.
Okay, so there isn't, I keep thinking there's a bone here.
Oh, Sophia! Wow! Makes for a noisy meal, doesn't it?
The rutabaga is very good. That's we've
Thank you.
grown to like that on my side of the family.
Are we gonna have dessert soon, Dennis?
Yeah, we'll have dessert, but I think first we need to dance around the Christmas tree. Then we will have the dessert.
All right, let's go.
Let's go.
You ready, Sophia?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Nu har vi julen, here we come.
Here we are.
Here we go. Around the tree we'll go. Everybody,
Gather around, join hands.
join hands. All right, for this first song, what are we singing, Nancy?
Jag är så glad att julekväll.
And what does that mean?
I am so happy each Christmas Eve.
Ah, here we go.
Jag är så glad vid julekväll, för där blev Jesus född. Där Jesus stjärnan som en sol, och änglar sång så söt.
Let's sing Nu har vi julen.
Okay.
It's an old favorite Danish song.
Okay.
Nu har vi julen, och nu har vi julen, och julen var
in the posta. Nej, det är Eckersen och nej, det är Eckersen, for in the melon comes a festa. Hej! Nu har vi julen, och nu har vi julen. Julen var in the posta. Nej, det är Eckersen och nej, det är Eckersen, for in the melon comes a festa. Hej! Nu har vi julen, nu har vi julen. Julen var in the posta. Nej, det är Eckersen och nej, det är Eckersen, for in the melon comes a festa. Hej! Nu har vi julen, nu har vi julen. Julen var in the posta. Nej, det är Eckersen och nej, det är Eckersen, for in the melon comes a festa. Hej!
Now it's time for dessert.
Time for dessert.
Here we are, everybody. It's time for dessert. You did such a good job of dancing around the Christmas tree, you must have worked up an appetite again.
And here are some cookies.
All right. Well, this has just been so much fun. It's been informative and, of course, flavorful. Dennis and Carole, thank you so much for your wonderful hospitality. It's been great. And guests, thank you all for being here. Did you have a good time?
We did. Talk for maten.
Tack för maten. Thank you for
Welcome.
the food. Thank you for watching a Norwegian Christmas in Minnesota. God jul. And now, let's enjoy dessert. How about it?
Yes.
You've got your dish and you got a cookie plate, so bring it up and help yourself to the dessert at the buffet.
Then do you want them to watch out for the whole almond?
Yes, somewhere in there is an entire almond
In the rice cream, Dennis?
in the rice
In the
cream.
rice cream.
Of course, you may need to eat all of the rice cream in order to find it, but there is an almond in there, and the person who finds the almond gets a prize.
The Yulin is a gift.
Yes. Okay.
So there's a little.
So your mom is going to rush up there and see if she can get it.
I'm going first. I'm digging for it, but I haven't found it yet, Carole.
Oh,
I'll hurry here. Do we have room for all of the cookies?
right, Sophia?
Sophia, are you digging for
Dad, you're going to say it like that. Dad, you might just get it if you just take some.
Dennis, have you counted how many kinds of cookies there are tonight?
I think there are 15 or 16.
There's only 6 of us, though. Dennis.
Yes.
Find the almond yet, Sophia?
Did you find it yet? Somebody will scream once they find it.
You got it last year.
Did you get it?
What did you
Are you sure?
Let's see.
Oh, she did.
And Gabrielle was just saying that if you dish your own, you can dig for it.
So,
And are you going to share? Are you going to share the prize with your sister? That's what I want to know. You will. You will share it. Maybe. Well, here it is. Here's the prize.
Wow. A marzipan pig?
Yes.
a marzipan pig.
What does that represent?
That's what we always got at Christmas time, was a marzipan pig.
Marzipan pig?
Well, marzipan is such a favorite, you know, because of course it's made from almonds. And the pig because, goodness sakes, we couldn't eat without it.
Funding for this program is provided by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008.